What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Shock. Shock the Shocker. Shockalicious? Shockarooski? No, I'm just kidding. It's your boy, Shock, here with shocking and trending videos. This is more on the shocking side right now. As you can see, the name of the video is Interview with Psycho Killer by none other than the legendary Stay Awake channel. Big fan of the channel. Um, if you haven't seen it, any of his, I'm pretty sure it's him, his stuff. Check it out. It's great stuff. Very engaging. Amazing breakdowns. It says here that this is a JCS inspired true crime documentary. Now, JCS is another amazing true crime channel. Their breakdowns and analogies are mind blowing, out of this world. Check out JCS if you're into the true crime stuff like I am. Hooked. Okay. Without further ado, let's get started.
This is 21-year-old Howard Ashelman, a devout Christian and prominent student at the Hobe Sound Bible College in Martin County, Florida. Despite only recently moving to Hobe Sound, Howard immediately had a positive impact on those around him. As an active member of the college choir, he quickly caught the attention of Hannah Jones, and the two developed a romantic relationship. Hannah's parents fully supported this and embraced Howard as part developed a romantic
You know what? I'm not even gonna touch it. It's too easy.
relationship. Hannah's parents fully supported this and embraced Howard as part of the family. Essentially, there was nothing but positive things to say about Howard. However, his seemingly perfect life was about to face intense scrutiny. In August of 2016, the Martin County Sheriff's Office received a tip from a private investigator in Fayetteville, North Carolina, over 650 miles away from Hobe Sound. Apparently, Howard Ashelman was a prime suspect in an ongoing investigation. A few hours after receiving this tip, Martin County detectives asked Howard's girlfriend Hannah and her parents if they could speak to them about Howard.
How long have you known Howard?
Since late August. What have you been told by anybody?
He mainly sold drugs and
It's kind of just like straight up.
he was in some gangs.
Why is he being investigated?
As more information was revealed
In
about the
North
type
Carolina.
of person Howard was, Hannah's parents became concerned for their daughter's safety.
We obviously don't feel comfortable with her hanging out with Howard. I don't know when he might snap or change who he is as a person, and she be right in the middle of it. And that concerns me as a dad.
Little did they know,
Right,
Howard
rightfully
was
so.
involved in a crime much more sinister than drug dealing.
I've tried to erase it out of my mind because it was traumatic from
2 years earlier, on August 24th, 2014, a man named Pete Chambers reported his 28-year-old son James missing to the Fayetteville Police Department in North Carolina. On August 14th, 10 days earlier, James needed a drive home from his full-time job as a construction worker before he headed to his part-time job as a lifeguard at Lake Lehman, about an hour and a half away. Pete, who was also James's boss, was initially supposed to drive him home, but he ended up asking one of James' co-workers if he could drive him home instead. The co-worker agreed. The next day,
Guys,
At Universal
I'm
Technical
trying to get
Institute,
YouTube
auto or
Premium,
diesel
and
mechanic
for some
training is
reason,
about
since
more
I
than
have
just gaining
YouTube
skills.
Music,
It's about learning
for
how to
some
build
reason
a
I can't
career
get
you're
both. I don't know
passionate
if I'm
about.
wrong, but
Graduates can pursue
I'll figure it
entry-level
out. Sorry.
technician roles.
next day, Friday, August 15th, James texted his mom saying that he loved her and would see her soon, but was unresponsive the rest of the weekend. This was uncharacteristic of James, and his family and friends quickly became concerned. After exhausting all efforts to reach him, they contacted the Lake Lehman campsite and discovered that James never even showed up. They crossed their fingers that they were overthinking it and he would show up for work on Monday, but he never did. On Tuesday, Pete asked the coworker who drove James
That's
home
way
if he
too
knew
much
where
time.
James might be. But the only information he could provide was that he dropped James off and hadn't heard from him since. The day after this conversation, that coworker stopped showing up to work. 10 days after James was last seen, his family decided it was time to get both the police and the media involved.
Listen, I'm sorry. 10 days is like. Wait, I can't even imagine. I'm a father. As a father, I can't imagine waiting 10 days. Like, 10, that's 2 business weeks. That's a whole pay period of work. No.
Oh, some damn buddy. Please.
James Chambers is desperate. He can't find his 28-year-old son.
Nobody's heard from him. Nobody's seen him.
A missing persons investigation was immediately launched. While interviewing James's father, they asked the obvious question: who was the coworker that drove James home? It was revealed to be none other than Howard Ashelman. Howard was actually hired and mentored by Pete, who had described him as a polite and respectful employee. However, there was one occasion a few months prior where Howard and Pete's son James got into a very heated altercation. Apparently, Howard even threatened to kill James. Naturally, Howard was asked to come in for an interview.
Did you guys ever hang out after work?
Yes, ma'am.
How was that?
Not bad.
He was questioned about his whereabouts and actions on the day James
He does
disappeared.
not care
You
at
guys
all.
left work. Tell me what
Okay.
happened.
But we went, and I stopped at the ABC
The way
store.
he's almost
How was
laughing.
work that day? Was everything good?
Everything was great.
Howard claimed that after work, they stopped by a nearby liquor store to purchase some
And yes,
alcohol.
I think
This
he's
was later
guilty.
confirmed by the parking lot
Yeah,
surveillance
I've never
footage.
seen this video.
They then
by the
headed
way.
back to James's house where they
I do not watch these videos before recording. Okay? Just letting you know, this is a real reaction. I've never seen this. So, yes, he's guilty in my mind. Look at him. Look at his freaking face.
some drinks before Howard went on his way.
When I left him, I went straight home.
Mm-hmm.
Then the neighbors were having a barbecue across the street, so I stopped in there.
Who was all at the barbecue?
The people who live there,
Just them?
some friends.
Howard said he left the barbecue before it got dark and went home. The detective then asked if they could search Howard's truck, but he no longer had it.
What happened to the vehicle?
My vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
I sold it already.
What was wrong with your truck?
I blew it up.
Howard told the detectives that he had scrapped the
Look at
pickup
him.
after he blew the engine from doing donuts in a parking
Man,
lot.
as a dad,
Surveillance footage
I
from the
saw this.
salvage yard confirmed that Howard disposed of the truck
God help
5
both
days
of us.
after James disappeared. On the same day, Pete asked him about James. The rest of the interview didn't provide any more significant information, but investigators had a strong feeling that foul play was involved. So, the case was handed over to the Homicide Division. A deep dive into Howard's social media revealed that Howard had 12 different accounts, each presenting a different persona and different names, the most alarming being Homicide Howie. Since James's disappearance, Howard had been sharing disturbing thoughts and content about things like cannibalism and mutilation of a body. Detectives decided to look into Howard's cell phone records, and during the time that he said he was at the neighborhood barbecue, his cell phone location was at Murphy Road. Howard was then brought into the station for another interview and confronted with this evidence.
When you left James' house, where did you go?
Home.
Where were you at for the whole evening?
I was at the house and my friends across the street.
Your cell phone was pinging at this place for almost 2 hours. Okay? So that means
Some
you
damn
within this
ping,
3
some
mile
damn
radius.
cell
That
phone.
means you're not at home.
Always get you.
I think I can explain it.
Okay, well, explain it to me.
Reno's house is in here somewhere.
Okay?
And he had my phone on him when he went back home.
Howard claimed
Good
that his friend
job.
Reno Parks had tagged along to the barbecue, and
Lying.
when they parted ways, Reno accidentally took Howard's phone with him. A couple of hours later, Reno brought the phone back and they continued to hang out. The detective was convinced Howard wasn't telling the full truth.
Howard, this is your out. I brought you in right now to tell me the truth. You have not told me that truth since you walked in that door.
Yes, sir.
No, you have not.
Slim Shady
That's the
looking
only
man.
thing I want for you today, Howard. It's the truth.
I'm sorry. I mean, some of this stuff, it's not like it happened yesterday.
After yet another fruitless interview, investigators decided to look into Howard's friend Reno. They discovered that Reno had an extensive criminal background and was currently out on parole. But when they tracked him down, he declined to speak with the detectives. With no concrete evidence connecting Howard to James's disappearance, no more persons of interest to talk to, and no sign of James's body, the case stagnated for months.
Missing for more than 2 months.
Stagnated?
His family calls his disappearance a mystery.
I know.
Missing for more
No sign of James's body. The case stagnated for months.
Missing
Stagnated.
for more than 2 months.
That must
His
be a
family calls his
Canadian way to
disappearance
say
a mystery.
stagnant.
I know.
Stagnated.
I'm
Is that
looking for
even a
my
word?
son's body. Body.
Is
Because
stagnated
I know
even a word?
James wouldn't do this.
I don't think that's a
And to
word.
know he's out there like a piece of
I have
trash.
to look that up.
And to go to bed at night thinking that
Man, poor lady, man.
the worst thoughts of what could have happened to my son,
This is the worst thing
what
anybody
somebody
could
has
ever
done to
go
my
through.
son.
Clearly desperate for answers, James's
Terrible.
family turned to social media, posting on Facebook to ask for help, gaining nationwide attention. This resulted in a nonprofit for missing children called the Polyclass Foundation, helping circulate thousands of missing posters for James. Unfortunately, their efforts continued to come up short. James's parents had already lost their youngest son 6 years earlier, and the idea of losing another son was becoming a painful reality. On August 8th, 2015,
No.
nearly a year since
That's
James's
sad.
disappearance, Howard once again caught the attention of authorities. But this was unrelated to the James Chambers case. Howard's girlfriend reported him to the police for domestic assault, and charges were placed. However, she did not attend her pretrial hearing, so the case was dismissed. This was a slap in the face for the Chambers family, who believed Howard was dangerous. Frustrated, James's parents reached out to David Marshburn, a well-known private investigator.
Marsh.
He agreed to help, and the first step was searching the Benson's family property, a piece of land owned by the
Benson.
elderly couple that Howard lived with. The Bensons agreed to the search, and Marshburn quickly discovered something big. It turns out that when Howard scrapped his pickup truck, he kept several parts, including the windows, radio, and seat belts. Lo and behold, there was blood spatter found on one of the side windows and the radio. Fayetteville police were immediately contacted and dispatched to the Bensons' residence to collect pictures
Dickhead.
and DNA samples for evidence. However, the results of the blood samples ultimately came back as inconclusive. The DNA sample was too small and not sufficient for testing. And just like that, the investigators were now back at square one. Another year passed, and it seemed that this case had gone cold. There had been no new leads in the case, and James's parents were now
I'm going
living
cold right
2,300 miles away in Dallas, Texas.
Freezing.
Howard had even deleted the disturbing posts from his many Facebook accounts and seemed to be on an indefinite hiatus from social media. Regardless, James's mom had still been thoroughly monitoring Howard's online activity. Then, one day in the late summer of 2016, he reappeared on Facebook, but this time his location was marked as Hobe Sound,
Don't do it to
Florida.
me.
Through further digging, James's
Don't
mom
do
learned
it
of
to
Howard's
me.
enrollment at Hobe Sound Bible College, his new gig as part of the choir, and his new girlfriend, Hannah. His mom quickly contacted private investigator David Marshburn, who
Marsh.
contacted the Martin County Sheriff's Office in Florida. Once Martin County was caught up to speed, they wondered what Howard's motive or endgame could be. They then reached out to Hannah and her parents, bringing us right back to this interview.
How long have you known Howard?
Since late August.
What have you been told by anybody?
That he shot a guy. He killed him. He didn't care a lot about what
Imagine
people
that.
thought
Like,
if
yo,
they didn't do what he wanted.
imagine that. Like, your daughter is called into an interview and you go there just thinking it's like regular crime, like drugs. And all of a sudden she's like, yeah, my ex-boyfriend killed somebody. Yo, that's nuts. That's crazy.
They just shoot him.
So you talked about shooting people before?
I mean, they're keeping it pretty calm.
Soon after this
I would be
interview,
freaking
Howard
out.
was asked to come into the station for an interview of his own. Right off the bat, Howard pulled back when the detective tried to dive into his past.
I don't want to go through that.
Well, I understand, but we need to try to.
I've tried to erase it out of my mind because it was traumatic for me. Right after that, I started using drugs so heavy.
Alright, guys. I'm going to have to make a part 2 for this. It's a little long, but yeah, stay tuned. Part 2 is coming. This is some crazy stuff. Peace!